Harrison Ford admits what it would take for him to join upcoming Yellowstone spinoff. 1923 star Harrison Ford's character managed to survive the show's bloody Season 2 finale, which means he could return for the upcoming Yellowstone spinoff, 1944. Paramount Plus's second Yellowstone prequel spinoff, 1923, concluded its Season 2 with a bloody season finale last month that has fans wondering about the fate of the franchise. As of now, another prequel series titled 1944 is in development, but there is very little confirmed about the upcoming series. However, it's speculated that 1944 will follow the life of 20-year-old John Dutton II, who was birthed during 1923's second season finale. John Doe will seemingly father Kevin Costner's John Dutton II. To many fans' surprise, Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren's 1923 characters Jacob and Cara Dutton survived the violent final episode for this season. This might lead to Helen coming back to reprise her character in 1944. Now, if she and Jacob Harrison did return to the show, they'd be 100 years old in the present day of the 1944 series. While they might not come back as present-day characters in 1944, the two could appear in flashback scenes set between 1923 and 1944. The Indiana Jones star has already revealed at a For Your Consideration (FYC) event, per The Hollywood Reporter, that he'd be interested in returning to the Yellowstone franchise. "I'm still alive," Harrison said of potentially coming back, teasing he only would if series creator Taylor Sheridan asks nice. However, he explained, "I have no idea what his plans are," referring to Taylor and the 1944 prequel. Meanwhile, Helen joked that she was convinced that I was going to die, so I was quite surprised I was still alive at the end of the show. At the end of Season 2 of 1923, Jacob, Harrison, and Cara Helen survived the dangerous fight between the Duttons and the rich Donald Whitfield, Timothy Dalton, who was trying to swipe the Dutton family land from them. In the last episode of this season, Alexandra, Julia Schlapfer, and Spencer Dutton, Brandon Sklinner, came back to each other after being apart all season, and Alex birthed John Dutton II. She named her and Spencer's son after the latter's late brother. Sadly, Alex died shortly after giving birth. Helen was satisfied with the finale, and that the family brings a newborn life into the fictional world during the second season's last show. "I love the fact that the future of Yellowstone is left in this tiny baby, in the arms of two older people, grandparents' age. I thought that was a very interesting concept," Helen shared, per the Daily Mail. She further expressed, "And creator Taylor Sheridan now I think is going to do 1944, as I understand. So that will be interesting too, the next generation." In a candid and unexpected moment at a recent industry roundtable, legendary actor Harrison Ford leaned back in his chair, a wry smile curling beneath his famously weathered features, and gave fans of the Yellowstone universe a reason to sit up and take notice. "Look, I've already done a Yellowstone story," Ford began, referring to his recent portrayal of Jacob Dutton in the critically acclaimed prequel series 1923. "But if Taylor Sheridan comes knocking again with the right script, never say never." That off-the-cuff statement sent ripples through the entertainment world. Could Indiana Jones himself be saddling up once more for another chapter in the Dutton saga? Ford, never one to chase roles for the sake of headlines, made it clear that any return to the Sheridan-verse would need to check a few specific boxes. "It's not just about riding a horse anymore. It's got to mean something," he said, gazing off thoughtfully. "I've been in this business for over 5 decades. At this point in my life, I'm not looking for spectacle, I'm looking for story. Characters with grit, with pain, with history in their bones." Ford has never been one to mince words, and his appreciation for the Yellowstone franchise's textured characters and sprawling, cinematic storytelling was evident. What Taylor's done with this universe, Ford said, is build a modern Western that's less about cowboys and more about legacy, loss, and land. That speaks to me. But if I'm going to do more, I want it to dig deeper. I want to play a man who's lost almost everything, a character on the edge. A role worthy of the Ford gravitas. According to Ford, the ideal spinoff would feature a morally complicated patriarch, maybe not a Dutton by name, but one who shares the same tormented DNA. I'd want to play someone who built an empire and paid the ultimate price for it. A man whose family doesn't speak to him anymore. A man with a rifle in one hand and a regret he can't shake in the other. Ford's hypothetical character, as he describes it, would be less John Dutton and more Lear on horseback, aging, haunted, yet holding onto his land with the stubbornness of granite. I want a scene where I say everything I never told my children, Ford said. And I want them to say nothing back. That's silence, that's drama. The Sheridan factor. Of course, no new installment in the Yellowstone universe happens without the Midas touch of creator Taylor Sheridan, who, by Ford's own admission, would be the determining factor in his return. If Taylor writes it, if he writes me into it, that changes everything, Ford said. The man understands the American frontier. Not the fantasy version, but the blood and soil version. Ford revealed that working with Sheridan on 1923 was one of the more creatively satisfying experiences of his recent career. There's an honesty to his writing. He doesn't let you hide. As an actor, that's all you can hope for. If he's got a new chapter he wants me in, I'll listen. A Spinoff set in the present, or past. While Ford wouldn't confirm any current negotiations or projects, he did hint at where he sees his potential character fitting in. People think Westerns have to be set in the 1800s, Ford said. But what about a rancher in 2025? One who's survived every drought, every government buyout, every family betrayal, and still won't sell. He smiled again, this time with something sharper behind his eyes. I'd love to play that man. Someone holding the line while the world keeps changing around him. Interestingly, this mirrors some rumors floating in entertainment circles that a new Yellowstone spinoff could be set in the near future. A modern reckoning installment where land, legacy, and climate change all collide. Think The Grapes of Wrath meets Hell or High Water, Ford mused, but with horses. Not just a cameo. When asked whether he'd be open to a limited cameo, maybe a single episode appearance to tie different branches of the Dutton family tree together, Ford waved the idea away with a chuckle. I don't do cameos, he said. If I show up, I show up to work. I don't need to be the lead, but I need to matter. I'm not there to tip my hat and ride into the sunset in 5 minutes. Final thoughts, the legend still rides. At 82, Ford is clearly not done pushing himself creatively. Whether it's flying jets, taking on emotionally complex roles, or quietly advocating for environmental issues, he shows no signs of retiring from the stage or screen. I've played men who ran from snakes, Nazis, and asteroids, he said with a grin. Now I want to play a man who runs from himself, or better yet, doesn't run at all. Just stands there, facing the storm. Whether or not Ford actually signs on to a new Yellowstone chapter remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure, the fire's still in him. And for the millions of Yellowstone fans who followed the Duttons from the days of covered wagons to courtroom battles, the prospect of seeing Harrison Ford return, grizzled, gravel-voiced, and unflinching, is enough to spark imaginations and start 1,000 new fan theories. I've still got one more ride in me, he said, tipping an imaginary Stetson. If the trail's the right one.